So this is where I would say, when all matters of matter no longer matter, then it doesn't matter. It simply is. And that is what I have understood in the practice. The deepest practice of all that I have learned is the practice that takes our concept and I could say experience of self from the elemental level, that is the earth, water, fire, air, which often we look at externally. Earth being all the, we can say, tissues, bones, blood, and muscles and so forth. The water is the other liquids within the body, which the simpler liquids, because blood is quite complex, but still part of it. The fire is our metabolism. The air is basically not just what we breathe, but it's all part of the mind. And then space is what interconnects them all. And there is this very interesting meditation where you literally go into your physical at the earth, and then it reduces, or it becomes in fact more etheric and goes into the water, into the fire, into the air, into the space. And what it connects with essentially and eventually are the 5 rays, or we can say they are called 5, they say 5, but some talk about the chakras, etc. But really they're the colors of the electromagnetic spectrum, because it's the 5 rays of light. Everything starts with the light and returns back to the light. So that particular perspective doesn't look at who I am, but rather what I am. Fundamentally, I'm no longer matter, I am simply light. And whether or not that is, from a quantum perspective, accurate, it is a very, I would say, useful analogy and process to assist one to experience that we are no longer bound by the physical or the material realm, but rather that light starts from some source, it permeates everything and returns back to some source. And that is the understanding that I have had, at least from the wisdom tradition perspective, and science seems to corroborate with that when we talk about the wave-particle function. And that's what assists us to go through these 3 fundamentals that you talked of, the non-locality and the correlationary existence. These are very, very important, what I would say the foundations, as you mentioned, of the ground of existence. Would you, what is that?
Well, indeed, non-locality, discontinuity, untangled hierarchy. If we leave these principles, then in an ongoing way, our life becomes happier and happier, and eventually we become liberated from the cycles of birth and rebirth. But of course, I have a slightly different view, not entirely different. This is the view of esoteric Buddhism path called Mahayana Buddhism. Buddhism originally was conceived with the same spiritual idea that drives all religion: how to reconnect with God, how to, we have this material body, and then through the investigation of the subtle, how can we reconnect to that essential being, the source? That has been the quest of religions. Now, in Buddhism, in the form of Mahayana, the Mahayana means the great vehicle. The great vehicle is not just the vehicle for you to sit on and seek the source, but for everybody to sit on, and together we become unified with the source. That is more or less the quantum worldview as I see it. Other people may see it differently, but look at what quantum worldview is doing. It is teaching you to be creative, and ultimately that means something which is really quite individual. You are taking a quantum leap. You are finding the essence, the truth for yourself. And as you do that, you become a true individual. We spend our life, when we are these backseat drivers, with various opinions of other people. Today, everyone Everyone, almost everyone in the society, except for those 15% that I mentioned before, or 20%, everyone just processes other people's opinion and they defend it, they would kill for it, but it's all other people's opinion, never their own opinion. They don't have their own opinion anymore. They don't have an individuality. We all have become statistical figures in the scientist's big pot. We don't have any individuality. Quantum physics teaches us how to be individual through the use of the creative process, through the use of creativity. Once you have creatively explored and have the insight about what love is, you have your own opinion about love. You have your own opinion of the other archetypes, fairness, and what it means to be abundant, that we can give without feeling impoverished by giving, etc., etc. In this way, what happens? Quantum physics, quantum society is a bunch of creative individuals that participate, that cooperates, but they are all individuals. They are not persuaded by anybody else's opinion. How can they be coherent? Because they are all made of the same essence. So although they are representing different representations of the archetypes, they will never have conflict, because that's not what it's at. They will always be able to cooperate by bringing up different sides, just like we are doing in this conversation. You are bringing the wisdom tradition, and I am bringing the quantum worldview. Yes, there are differences, but we are not fighting about it. We are cooperating about it to make our understanding better. And this is what creative individuals do. They don't fight about their differences, little differences. They learn to do it better by hearing the other, by listening to the other, by incorporating the other in the worldview. In other words, the integration enables both of us to operate in a better and better way. This is the future of humanity as quantum worldview sees it. And when this happens, the world will become more harmonious, and of course, people will not be violent anymore, competitive anymore. Instead, cooperation will reign, and love will, just like Jesus saw it, whoso knoweth love knoweth God. And so people will all be enormously situated in love and peace.
Fully agreed. And just to add, Mahayana, greater vehicle, it's the vehicle to take you to a greater level of understanding that you're not limited by your smaller self, your survival instinct. And that is why one of the main tenets of Mahayana is the commitment to the enlightenment of all sentient beings.
All sentient beings.
So that means you're already aware that you're not separate. And then the Vajrayana basically takes you through Tantra, because Tantra is a part of the Vajrayana, back to your essential nature through that part of you that's indestructible. Because Vajra basically either means indestructible or something that enters with the power, the speed of a lightning bolt, but the power as well. Try stopping a lightning bolt when it comes. Obviously, you don't have much power against it. And it's an awakening. And the tantric path itself is they are tools to help you understand action that is required for that awakening to complete itself. So I think that the quantum worldview aligns itself extremely well with what you've just mentioned, with those principles.
Yeah.
And more importantly, that it rises above the limitation of the language that has been used, firstly in certain traditions, including those particular principles expressed in Buddhism, to a level where it becomes a new vehicle. I like to call it the wisdom vehicle.
Yes, quantum and wisdom probably can be used as interchangeably. I most recently wrote a book called the Everything Answer Book, where I mentioned that the ultimate knowledge is that knowledge which enables you to give answers to every question that we can ask. And I think wisdom tradition, goal of wisdom traditions have been precisely that. Wisdom enables us to give answers that cannot be given without the wisdom, cannot be given by the transactional mind. It has to have transformation. Mind needs transformation. So, this is our objective. At this point, I should mention that we are going towards establishing educational institution where we'll educate people from transaction into transformation. We want a society of transformation, not of transaction. This is the goal of the wisdom traditions. This is the goal of the quantum worldview. The word quantum, please don't think of it as a scientific, sophisticated word. Instead, thinking of the word quantum as the synonymous with the word wisdom. Quantum worldview is the worldview that takes you towards wisdom of unity between differences, unification between differences. And together we can overcome anything. Division will get us only to suffering.
Fully agreed. And the center that we have here in London is called Oracy. And it's an ancient Greek word which means basically vision. And the vision that we're referring to is exactly what you've just mentioned. Having the insight in order for there to be foresight to achieve real sight. Yes. And what is it? What is the real sight? That the wisdom we are searching for is present already through our experience of life. So Oracy is about life wisdom, just the wisdom of existence. So welcome everyone at any given time, and I'm very happy and pleased to say that I'm associated and work very closely with Professor Goswami, with Amit, and that we are looking forward to opening up this new possibility for all people to experience the common ground that gives us an opportunity to understand our true purpose and meaning and how we can achieve that without it remaining in the realm of possibilities or dreams.
Thank you, Konstantin.